We're probably only getting through 2 verses today, but man, there's gold in this, and I want you to pay attention. Welcome to another Bible study walkthrough where you will learn how to read and study the Bible. We're in Hebrews 3. We read about how Jesus is the apostle and high priest of our confession. We read about how the author is addressing the audience as holy brothers who share in a heavenly calling, right? And he tells them, consider Jesus. The reason I give you context is because tip number 1, read things in context. So when we get to verse 2, we're in the middle of a sentence, right? So I should think about and know what it is that has been said before we get to verse 2. Otherwise, if I just jump into verse 2 like this, I go, who was faithful to him who appointed him? Well, who's the who? What does it mean that he was faithful? Who's the him he was faithful to, right? These are questions we should seek to know and understand, right? Or have answered. So Jesus here is the who being referred to, just to give you a little bit of an edge on this. Jesus was faithful to him who appointed him, just as Moses also was faithful in all God's house. Now what we have here in verse 2 is a continuation of verse 1, the idea being, look, consider Jesus. Why? We asked in the last Bible study walkthrough, what should we consider about Jesus? Why should we consider Jesus? And we ask questions because we are expecting that the Lord will answer as we continue reading and studying and meditating, right? So he'll continue explaining what it means to consider Jesus and why. Specifically, it's that Jesus was faithful to him. Who's the him? You might have that question. Who was Jesus faithful to? Well, whoever this him is, it's the one who appointed Jesus. And you might go, what does it mean to be appointed? Good question. Go to a Greek lexicon, go to BibleHub.org, look up this verse, and look at the original Greek word and what it means. That doesn't mean we only build our definition from Greek lexicons. We can just read the context. We can read how other verses use it. You can piece these things together, but at least get an idea generally of what this word means in most contexts, what it means for him to be appointed, right? Either way, when I read and study the Bible, here's what I do. I think about why it is that the author describes, here we know it's God the Father. And just to give you a little shortcut around working through all this, this is the Father. He was faithful to the Father, and the Father appointed Jesus, right? What I want to think about is why the author of Hebrews pauses to describe Jesus and the Father in this way. This is what I do as someone who studies the Scriptures. I want to go, how does this relate to the point he's making here in the beginning of chapter 3, but also how does it relate to what I've seen in chapter 2 and chapter 1, and any repeating words here that I should take note of, any repeating ideas, any synonymous words and ideas, right? I want to think about the author could have just gone, consider Jesus who was faithful, but he specifically addresses the fact that Jesus was faithful to God, the Father, and that the Father appointed him. These seem like irrelevant details he could have left out that don't have any part in the point he's making, and yet they do, right? Every word is intentional. Every thought is very, intentional and has purpose. So I want to think through why God specifically moved the author to include this description of Jesus and the Father, right? And how it relates to what's being said. This is what it means to study the Bible. You piece these things together. But notice this phrase, just as. This word just as is essentially letting you know there's going to be a similarity to what he's just said and what he's about to say. He's going to draw a parallel. He's going to compare them. They're going to have some kind of connection, right? So Jesus was faithful to the Father who appointed him, just as Moses was faithful in all God's house. So I want to ask, when I see words like just as or like, right, some kind of parallel being drawn, I want to go, in what ways are these two things similar? Or if there's a list of things, in what ways are they similar? What do they have in common? What's being compared, right? Part of the way we do this when you study the Bible is by noticing any kind of repeating words. So I'm using purple a lot. Let me get another. If I have another pen, which it doesn't look like I do, I guess I'll keep using purple. All right. Y'all send me some pens in the mail. So we have the word faithful here used twice. Now, that might not seem like a big deal to you, but when, a word like, not like the or and, like articles, but when a word like faithful is used twice in the same verse, right? And especially as it's used more as I zoom out and it's used in the verse before and used after, I want to pay attention to that. This word repeats twice, right? So he was faithful and Moses was faithful. That might be what they have in common, right? I think so, because Jesus was faithful to God the Father, just as Moses was faithful in all God's house, right? So here we have a new idea being introduced, and you go, how do you know that? Because all of a sudden, we have this concept of God's house being introduced, where we have not thus far had this idea at least unpacked. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if in the first 2 chapters we've seen any reference to God's house or any time God's house was used, and I don't remember off the top of my head. So you guys let me know in the comments. I'll probably go back and look at this. But the point here is, I lost my train of thought. Come back, please. Come back. I need you. That Moses was faithful in all God's house, and this seems to be an additional idea. So here's what I do when I read and study the Bible. When I notice that the author begins to introduce a new idea or seems to bring an idea that didn't have to be brought in, or an idea that seems way out of left field, or an idea that seems irrelevant, what I want to do is pay attention to that and go, no, there's a reason this idea is being brought in. So the reason I know this is something that's being introduced is because I've read Hebrews, studied Hebrews, but also because up to this point, as far as I can remember, there has been no reference to God's house, as far as I remember. I could be wrong, and that's okay, right? But as far as my memory goes, and this is where we're Bible students, I might go, I don't remember God's house being referenced at all. So let me go back to Hebrews 1 and 2 and look for any reference to the house or family of God, because that's specifically being referenced. So you wouldn't otherwise know that if you're new to the Bible, but household refers more to the family, the people, more than just the building. We think of house as like a structure we live in. House here refers to the family of that individual that bears that name, right? So Moses was faithful in this house of God that he was over and stewarding, right? The household, including servants and all that. So the question becomes, have I seen anything about family or brothers? And the answer is, yeah, I have. Right here in chapter 3, he refers to them as holy brothers, right? Or back in chapter 2, he talks about how Jesus makes way for us to be made brothers or sisters when it comes to the family of God. He brings us into the family. So yeah, technically I haven't seen the word house or any reference to a structure that is a house, but I have seen the word brother and family used referring to the children of God. I've seen that. So it's on me to maybe go backtrack a little bit through Hebrews, and it's okay. You don't need to make any amount of progress chronologically when you read and study the Bible. Just make sure you don't rush through the scriptures. So maybe you guys can go back and look at any instance so far in Hebrews where brothers or children or family is referenced, right, or sons, and then bring all of that information and load it into this idea here. But to me, it's a newer idea, the concept of being faithful in God's house, right? And then verse 3, it says, "For Jesus has been counted worthy of more glory than Moses, as much more glory as the builder of a house has more honor than the house itself." So when you ask, I'm sure some of you are wondering, hey, Jason, if that's your name, why do you think that all of a sudden this is a newer idea, right? And usually when an author begins to introduce a new idea that's related to the previous ideas he's put forth, you'll see that idea coming up pretty fast. Meaning right here, sorry, you can't see it, but the word house is going to appear 3 more times just in the next verse. So that indicates to me, hey, this might be the first time I've seen the word house thus far, and it's new to me. How can I verify that this is something I should pay attention to? Well, you backtrack. You look at any other usages of this word or synonymous ideas, but also what you can do is keep reading. And if you see this, all of a sudden this word's popping up like wildfires, terrible analogy, But if you see this word popping up all of a sudden a bunch in like the next verse, you go, oh, that indicates to me this idea is becoming important and I should pay attention to it. So don't just pay attention when you read the Bible. Don't just pay attention to repeating words. Pay attention to the pattern of repeating words. How quickly does a word seem to blow up and just begin showing up all over the place? That should tell you, hey, right there is where the author is beginning to introduce a certain idea, and he wants you to pay attention to it as important, but also connect it to previous ideas. And so here Jesus is counted more worthy of more glory, if I can talk, than Moses. So remember the question we asked earlier is, hey, in what ways are Jesus and Moses being compared? Well, they were both faithful to God, right? And we ask questions when we study the Bible, but also here the glory of both is being compared, right? So we have Jesus, we have Moses, and what we also have is the word glory, used twice. I don't know why I did that. It's unnecessary. The word glory is used twice. So remember, repeating words, just pay attention to them. We might not see the word glory at all ever again, but at least in this verse it's used twice, and it's saying essentially, hey, pay attention to me. I'm important. So Jesus has glory. Moses has glory. But Jesus has been counted worthy of more glory. Now, as a Bible student, someone who's been studying the Bible for a while, I know I sound 12, I'm not. What I want to think about is, hey, what does it mean that he's counted worthy of more glory? Remember, ask questions when you read the Bible so you can arrive at the right answers, so you can begin to make sense of a text and interpret it correctly. What does it mean that he's counted worthy? Maybe I'll go to a Greek lexicon. Maybe I'll look at any instance of the word worthy or counted used in Hebrews, or I might go somewhere else where this exact these words are used in a context. There's all these different ways, but I want to ask, what does it mean that he's been counted worthy of more glory than Moses? Another question I might ask is, why all of a sudden? Because remember, up to this point, if you didn't track with us thus far, in chapter 1 and 2, mainly the argument is Jesus is better than angels. Well, now all of a sudden, Jesus is being compared to Moses. And you're starting to see that same idea, or that same template, Jesus is better than, but instead of angels, now it's Moses. So just pay attention to that, right? And since he's being compared to Moses, I might ask why. Why is Jesus being compared to Moses? Why is their faithfulness being compared to each other and the degree of glory they have being compared to each other? When you realize what's being compared, you might want to ask why. And the way you answer that is, how does this comparison of glory relate to the ideas I've seen in this chapter? How does this comparison of faithfulness relate to the concepts and main ideas I've seen in this chapter, or even what comes before it, right? So in the next Bible study walkthrough, we'll really get into verse 3 a little more and unpack that in depth. But in the meantime, check out our free 40-day Bible study program. I promise it will be a blessing to you if you're a new Christian or new to the Bible. You can also take the 27-day or 11-day program if that's a little intimidating. If 40 days you're like, bro, I can't do anything for more than 3 days. Okay, go for at least the 11-day program. Check it out. It's linked in the description below. I put it together not because it benefits me in any way, but because I know it will benefit you. It's free. It's online. It's at your own pace. It's as convenient as it could be. Go check that out if you really want to learn how to read and study the Bible. And I'll see you guys in the next Bible study walkthrough. Bye.